You won't believe how life really looked in 1960s Britain. Pause. On the surface, it seemed simple. Milk, bread, a trip to the cinema, a local pub down the street. But behind these everyday routines lies a story full of secrets, surprises, and shocking details that will completely change the way you think about life just 60 years ago. Why could a simple trip to the shop feel like a full-blown ritual? How did a single movie ticket become an event for the entire day? And why did things that seem expensive today cost almost nothing back then, yet gave people real freedom, pride, and happiness? I'm going to take you inside this world, revealing the hidden truths of everyday life that you never learned in school and that you won't find online. Stick with me until the very end, because what you're about to hear will surprise you and completely reshape the way you see the past. Everyday life in the mid-60s unfolded slowly, almost rhythmically, shaped by habits that repeated themselves with comforting predictability. Mornings didn't begin with the glow of a phone screen, but with real sounds: the quiet clatter of glass bottles outside the door, the firm knock from the milkman making his rounds long before most people were fully awake. That simple delivery felt like a promise. The world was still in order. Families opened the door to cool morning air, picked up the bottles with their silver caps, and carried them inside as sunlight crept across the kitchen table. Bread from the local bakery added its own warmth to the start of the day. The smell drifted through the street as soon as the ovens opened. People didn't buy bread for the week, they bought it for the day. Fresh, still warm, soft enough that the crust crackled ever so slightly when you squeezed it. It became the foundation of almost every meal, from breakfast toast to sandwiches wrapped neatly for school. And because everything was bought in small quantities, nothing lingered long enough to lose its charm. As the day moved forward, the streets came alive with familiar spots that gave each neighborhood its personality. Small pubs, often just a short walk from home, filled up as the afternoon turned to evening. Inside, the air carried a mix of voices, the clink of pint glasses, and the occasional burst of laughter rising above the rest. Music slid out of jukeboxes, sometimes crackling, always cherished, and even those who didn't dance felt part of the moment. People didn't go there to escape life. They went because it felt like an extension of home, one with a bit more noise and warmth. When a different kind of evening was needed, the cinema provided it. Entering a theater felt like stepping into a little world, carefully set apart from everything outside. Thick curtains, velvet seats, and the soft buzz before the lights dimmed. The entire experience carried a quiet sense of occasion. Before the main film, audiences watched cartoons, short reels, or the news of the week. That small tradition gave each visit a layered, almost ceremonial feeling. For a brief time, reality paused and the glow of the screen took over. Weekends often meant movement, literal movement. Fuel was affordable and cars were simple but full of personality. Families would pile into their vehicles, windows rolled down, the engine humming as they headed toward the coast or the countryside. Children pressed their faces to the glass, watching fields and houses drift by, while adults enjoyed the rare sense of unhurried time. A single gallon of petrol could turn an ordinary Sunday into a mini-adventure, complete with sand-filled shoes, slightly sunburned noses, and the memory of wind rushing past the window. Owning a car in those days carried a special pride. It wasn't just transportation, it was a milestone. People washed them by hand, polished every surface, and parked them with care. The arrival of a new car in the neighborhood often drew curious glances and friendly conversations. It symbolized progress, independence, and the promise of countless journeys yet to come. But the truest symbol of stability was a home. For many families, the 60s were years of moving into modest houses with carefully kept gardens and just enough space for everyone. These homes quickly filled with life, the smell of cooking in the evenings, children's drawings on the walls, the soft murmur of conversations drifting from room to room. Even council houses felt deeply rooted in community. Neighbors recognized each other instantly, shared tools without hesitation, exchanged small favors, and gathered outside on warm evenings as children played nearby. Streets felt more like extended households than separate addresses. Shopping for groceries was an experience shaped by human connection. The butcher, the greengrocer, and the small shop owners knew their customers by name. Meat was weighed with practiced hands, potatoes tipped into paper bags, and nothing arrived wrapped in plastic. People bought only what they needed, and nearly everything found a purpose. Meals stretched far. A single chicken might become dinner, sandwiches, and soup across several days. There was a kind of gentle creativity in the way food was used, and conversations with the shopkeepers often became as valuable as the ingredients themselves. The weekly pay packet added another layer of structure to life. A small brown envelope filled with cash felt tangible in a way modern numbers on a screen never do. It represented effort, responsibility, and trust. The moment it crossed the threshold of the home, it became part of the household rhythm, divided carefully between meals, rent, clothing, and the small joys that made the week feel complete. Communication had its own kind of magic. Letters weren't just messages, they were events. You could feel their weight, see the familiar handwriting, and sense the emotion behind each word. Newspapers added to the connection, filled with stories, commentary, and the daily pulse of the world. People read them at breakfast, on benches, on buses, anywhere they had a quiet moment to themselves. And then there were the timeless smells of the city, fresh fish and chips wrapped in newspaper, carried home in warm paper bags. The steam fogged your glasses as soon as you opened it, releasing the mix of vinegar, salt, and crisp batter that made the whole experience unforgettable. Small cafes offered similar comfort, with strong tea served in heavy mugs and simple meals that tasted better than their modest ingredients suggested. Conversations drifted between tables, weaving together strangers and friends alike. Life followed a slower tempo, but it never felt empty. People talked more, noticed more, and moved through their days with a kind of gentle attentiveness. Markets buzzed with friendly familiarity, parks held the sound of children's laughter, and the local barbershop offered quick haircuts accompanied by jokes, stories, and the unmistakable scent of cream and powder. Even clothing carried meaning. A well-made suit wasn't just worn, it lived alongside its owner. It appeared at celebrations, family gatherings, and significant moments. Tailors adjusted details with care, ensuring each piece felt personal and enduring. Nothing was purchased lightly, and because of that, everything held value. Looking back at that era, the truth becomes clear. The richness of life wasn't measured by the price of milk, bread, or a cinema ticket. It wasn't about what things cost, but about what they created: routines, memories, connections, and a sense of belonging that stretched far beyond the objects themselves. The 60s carried a quiet charm, built not on abundance, but on the depth found in everyday moments. And that, more than anything, is what made life feel full.